Admiral Lee Tae-ho stood at the wide window of his command center, looking out at the stars. Earth spun slowly below him, blue and green and beautiful. Around the planet, hundreds of ships moved in careful patterns. These were Earth's defense. Ships, protecting humanity's home world. Lee Tae-ho had been Admiral of the Earth Defense Fleet for 10 years. He was 45 years old, with gray starting to show in his black hair. He had spent his whole life in space, first as a pilot, then as a captain, and now as the man in charge of keeping Earth safe. The year was 2387. Humans had been traveling in space for 300 years now. They had built colonies on Mars and the Moon. They had mining stations around Jupiter and Saturn. But in all that time, they had never found any sign of other intelligent life. As far as humans knew, they were alone in the universe. That morning started like any other. Lee Tae-ho was drinking his coffee and reading reports when his communications officer, Lieutenant Kang Soo-jin, called out with excitement. "Admiral, we're getting something strange," she said. "It's a signal from deep space, very far away, Lee." Tae-ho walked over to her station. "What kind of signal?" "I don't know, sir. It's not like anything we've ever seen. The computer says it's some kind of language, but not human. The patterns are too complex." Lee Tae-ho frowned. False signals happen sometimes. Space was full of strange radiation and electromagnetic noise. "Are you sure it's not just cosmic background noise?" "No, sir. This is definitely artificial. Someone made this signal." And Admiral Kang Soo-jin looked up at him with wide eyes. "The computer is starting to translate it." On the main screen, words began to appear. They were rough and broken, but readable. Urgent. Galactic Council. Requests aid. Void. Swarm approaches. Multiple systems lost. Send help. The bridge went quiet. Everyone stared at the screen. Lee Tae-ho felt his heart beating faster. This could change everything. "Keep working on the translation," he ordered, "and get Captain Park So-min up here right away." Captain Park So-min was the head of Earth's Language Research Division. She was a small woman with bright, intelligent eyes and short black hair. She studied how different languages worked and how computers could translate them. If anyone could make sense of this signal, it was her. When she arrived on the bridge 20 minutes later, more of the message had been translated. "Ancient enemy has returned," Park So-min read from the screen. "Void swarm consumes all. Entire star systems gone. Galactic Council forces cannot stop them. Any civilization receiving this message, please help. Time is running out." "Is this real?" Lee Tae-ho asked her. Park So-min studied the data on her portable computer. "The mathematical structure is incredibly complex, Admiral. The quantum encryption is beyond anything humans have developed. If this is fake, someone has technology far more advanced than ours. But it could still be fake? Possible, but unlikely. Look at this." She pointed to her screen. "The signal contains mathematical constants that are universal. Pi, the speed of light, atomic weights. But they're expressed in ways we've never seen. This looks like a real alien language." Lee Tae-ho made a decision that would change human history. He activated his communicator and called Earth. "This is Admiral Lee requesting immediate connection to Defense Secretary Yoon." A few minutes later, Defense Secretary Yoon Han-sol appeared on the screen. He was an older man with a serious face and gray hair. "Admiral Lee, what is the emergency?" "Sir, we've received what appears to be a distress call from aliens. A group called the Galactic Council is asking for help against something called the Void Swarm." Secretary Yoon's expression didn't change. "Admiral, You know our policy. Any reports of alien contact must be verified through proper channels. This is probably some kind of hoax or test. Sir, Captain Park believes the signal is genuine. The technology required to fake this is beyond human capability. I don't care what Captain Park believes. You are ordered to ignore this signal and continue normal operations. We cannot panic the public with unverified alien contact claims. The communication ended. Lee Tae-ho stared at the blank screen for a long moment. Admiral, Park So-min asked quietly, "What are you going to do?" Lee Tae-ho looked around the bridge. His officers were watching him carefully. He thought about his duty to Earth, to humanity, and to the chain of command. But he also thought about what might happen if this signal was real and they ignored it. "Commander Kim Jae-wook," he called out. Commander Kim Jae-wook was Lee Tae-ho's best ship captain. He was young, only 32, but he had never lost a battle or failed a mission. He was brave, smart, and completely trustworthy. "Yes, sir?" "Select 3 of our fastest ships. Long-range scouts with full weapons and supplies. I want you to investigate the source of this signal." "Admiral," Park So-min said carefully, "Secretary Yoon just ordered us to ignore it." "Secretary Yoon is not here in space watching alien mathematics appear on our screens," Lee Tae-ho replied. "I am, and I'm responsible for protecting Earth. If there really is something out there that can destroy entire star systems, we need to know about it." Kim Jae-wook smiled. "When do we leave, Admiral?" "Within the hour. Take the Seoul, the Busan, and the Daegu. They're our best scout ships. The signal is coming from the Kepler 442 system. It's about 12 light years away. With our fastest engines, you can be there in 6 days. What if we find something? Then you send word back immediately. Don't try to fight anything alone. Your job is to look and report." Park So-min stepped forward. "Admiral, I request permission to go with Commander Kim. If we do make contact with aliens, having a language expert there could be crucial." Lee Tae-ho nodded. "Granted, but Captain, this mission is completely secret. No one else can know what you're doing." As Kim Jae-wook and Park So-min left to prepare their ships, Lee Tae-ho looked out at the stars again. In a few hours, humans would travel farther from Earth than they had ever gone before. They might find nothing but empty space and cosmic noise, or they might find that humanity was not alone in the universe after all. The signal kept coming, repeating its desperate plea for help. Lee Tae-ho ordered his communications team to record everything and keep working on the translation. If this was real, every piece of information could be important. 6 hours later, he watched 3 small ships disappear into hyperspace, carrying 12 brave humans toward the unknown. Whatever they found out there would change everything. But Lee Tae-ho didn't know that yet. He just knew that someone, somewhere in the galaxy, was crying for help, and he couldn't ignore that cry, no matter what his orders said. Commander Kim Jae-wook stood on the bridge of the Seoul as they came out of hyperspace. What he saw made his blood run cold. A massive space battle was happening right in front of them. Strange, beautiful ships that looked like they were made of crystal were fighting against horrible black creatures that seemed to eat light itself. The crystal ships were losing badly. "Captain Park, are you seeing this?" Kim Jae-wook spoke into his communicator. "I see it," Park So-min replied from the Busan. "Those must be the aliens who sent the distress call, and those black things must be the Void Swarm," Kim Jae-wook finished. He watched as another crystal ship exploded in a burst of blue light. The black creatures swarmed over the wreckage, like insects. The black ships were like nothing humans had ever imagined. They moved like living things, twisting and flowing through space. They had no straight lines or metal surfaces. Instead, they looked like they were made of shadow and hunger. When they fired their weapons, the beams seemed to drain energy from everything they touched. "Sir," called out Lieutenant Bang Tae-young from the weapons station, "the alien ships aren't using kinetic weapons at all. Everything they're firing is pure energy. And the black ships are absorbing it," added Lieutenant Moon Ji-hai from sensors. "Every energy blast just makes them stronger." Kim Jae-wook made a quick decision. "All ships, prepare for battle. Target the black vessels. Use kinetic weapons only, railguns and missile systems. No energy weapons." "Sir, should we announce ourselves first?" asked Park So-min over the radio. "No time. Those crystal ships won't last much longer." The 3 Earth ships uncloaked and dove into the battle. The Soul fired its main railgun at the largest black creature. The metal slug hit at tremendous speed, punching a huge hole through the alien ship. Black liquid sprayed out into space. The effect on the battle was immediate. The black ships stopped attacking the crystal vessels and turned toward the humans, but they seemed confused. Their energy-draining weapons hit the Earth ships and did nothing. Human ships used metal armor and kinetic weapons, not energy shields, and plasma cannons. "They can't adapt to us," Kim Jae-wook realized. "They've never fought anything like human technology before." The Busan launched a spread of nuclear missiles. When they exploded against the black ships, the aliens writhed in apparent pain. The Daegu fired its particle accelerator cannon, sending streams of metal pellets into the enemy formation. For the first time in the battle, the black ships began to retreat. On the largest crystal ship, Admiral Shin Hye-jin could not believe what she was seeing. Her people, the Alterians, had been fighting the Void Swarm for 3 years. In that time, she had lost hundreds of ships and thousands of crew members. The enemy seemed unstoppable. Now, 3 unknown vessels had appeared and were driving the Void Swarm away using primitive weapons that should not have worked. "Communications Officer Neltha," she called out. "Can you contact those ships?" "I can. Try, Admiral. But I don't recognize their technology or language." "Do whatever you can. We need to thank them." On the Seoul, Lieutenant Choi Min-woo at the communications station suddenly looked up. "Commander, we're getting a signal from the big crystal ship. I think they're trying to talk to us." "Put it on screen." The main display showed a tall, elegant woman with skin that seemed to shimmer like starlight. She had large, silver eyes and wore a uniform that looked like it was made of liquid metal. When she spoke, her voice was musical, but the words were completely alien. Park So-min's voice came over the radio. "Commander, my translation computer is working on it. Give me a few minutes." The alien woman kept talking. She pointed to herself, then to her ship, then to the human vessels. She seemed to be trying to communicate through gestures. "I think she's trying to say thank you," Kim Jae-wook said. After 10 minutes, Park So-min's excited voice filled the bridge. "I've got it. The translation program is working. She's speaking something called Galactic Standard." The alien woman's voice came through clearly now. "Unknown vessels, this is Admiral Shin Hye-jin of the Alterian Fleet. You have saved our ships and our lives. We are in your debt." Kim Jae-wook took a deep breath. This was humanity's first conversation with an alien being. "Admiral Shin, this is Commander Kim Jae-wook of the Earth Defense Force. We received your distress call and came to help." Shin Hye-jin's eyes widened. "Earth? You are from Earth? But that is impossible. Our surveys showed Earth had only primitive life forms." "Your surveys were wrong. Humanity has been traveling in space for 300 years. Humanity. Shin Hye-jin seemed to be testing the word. You called yourselves humans in your transmission. Tell me, humans of Earth, how did you defeat the Void Swarm so easily? We have been fighting them for years with no success. We used kinetic weapons, metal projectiles, and explosive missiles. Your ships use energy weapons, but these creatures seem to feed on energy. Shin Hye-jin was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was filled with hope and disbelief. You mean the answer was to use simpler weapons? Primitive technology? Sometimes the old ways work best, Kim Jae-wook replied. Commander Kim, I must speak with your leaders. The Galactic Council needs to know about your people and your weapons. The Void Swarm has conquered half the galaxy. Thousands of worlds have been consumed. But if your technology can stop them, what is the Galactic Council? The alliance of all intelligent species in this galaxy. There are dozens of member races. We have been fighting the Void Swarm together, but we are losing. Every battle costs us more ships than we can replace. Kim Jae-wook looked around his bridge. His crew members were staring at him with wide eyes. They had just learned that not only were humans not alone in the universe, but that there was an entire galactic civilization under threat. Admiral Shin, I need to contact my superiors on Earth, but I think they will want to help. There is no time for long communications, Shin Hye-jin said urgently. The Void Swarm will return with reinforcements. They always do. You must come with me to Nexus Prime, the capital of the Galactic Council. Our leaders must meet you immediately. How far is it? 6 days travel using our faster engines. We can upgrade your ships with our hyperdrive technology. Park So-min's voice came over the radio. Commander, we should do it. This is the greatest discovery in human history. Kim Jae-wook knew she was right, but he also knew he was making a decision that would affect all of humanity. Admiral Shin, we will come with you. But first, I must send a message to Earth. Of course, Kim Jae-wook composed the message carefully. Admiral Lee Tae-ho, this is Commander Kim. The distress call was real. We have made contact with an alien civilization called the Galactic Council. They are fighting an enemy called the Void Swarm that has destroyed thousands of worlds. Our weapons are effective against this enemy when theirs are not. I am proceeding to their capital with Admiral Shin Hye-jin to meet their leaders. Recommend immediate mobilization of Earth Defense Fleet. Humanity is no longer alone, and the galaxy needs our help. He sent the message toward Earth, knowing it would take 12 days to arrive. Then he turned to Admiral Shin Hye-jin. We're ready to go with you. Thank you, Commander Kim. You may have just saved the galaxy. As the human ships followed the Alterian fleet toward Nexus Prime, Kim Jae-wook wondered what they would find there. How many alien species were there? What did they look like? How would they react to humans? Most importantly, could Earth's simple weapons really make a difference against an enemy that had conquered half the galaxy? He was about to find out. Admiral Lee Tae-ho stepped off his ship onto Nexus Prime and felt overwhelmed. The space station was bigger than Earth's moon. Thousands of ships from dozens of different species flew around it in perfect patterns. The docking bay alone was larger than any city on Earth. Welcome to Nexus Prime, said Admiral Shin Hye-jin. She had met them at the docking port along with Ambassador Choi Young-suk, Earth's top diplomat who had arrived with Lee Tae-ho's fleet. This is incredible, said Dr. Yoon Min-seo, Earth's chief military scientist. She was a small woman with sharp eyes who studied weapons and military technology. How long did it take to build this? 2,000 years, Shin Hye-jin replied. It is the heart of galactic civilization. As they walked through the corridors, Li Tae-ho saw aliens everywhere. Some looked almost human, but with different colored skin or eyes. Others were completely different. Beings made of light, creatures that looked like walking trees, and things that didn't seem to have solid forms at all. There are 47 member species in the Galactic Council, Shin Hye-jin explained. Each one brings different knowledge and abilities to our alliance. They entered a massive chamber with a dome ceiling that showed the stars outside. In the center was a circular platform with seats arranged in rings. Hundreds of alien beings were already seated, all looking toward the humans with curiosity. "The Council of Desperation," Shin Hye-jin said quietly. "This is what we call our war meetings now." A tall figure stood up from the center of the platform. He looked somewhat human, but with golden skin and 4 arms. His voice was deep and carried easily through the chamber. "I am Kethamor the Wise, Prime Speaker of the Galactic Council. Welcome, beings of Earth. We have heard much about your recent actions." Ambassador Choi Young-suk stepped forward. She was an older woman with gray hair and a calm manner who had been Earth's diplomat for 20 years. "Thank you, Prime Speaker. I am Ambassador Choi of Earth. We are honored to meet you." "The honor is ours," Kethmore replied. "Admiral Shin has told us that your weapons were effective against the Void Swarm. This is the first good news we have had in 3 years." Another alien stood up. This one looked like a cloud of blue gas held together in a roughly human shape. "I am General Vexta of the Nexari. Tell us about these weapons of yours." Dr. Yoon Min Seo activated a hologram projector. Images of human weapons appeared in the air above the platform. "These are kinetic weapons," she explained. "They fire metal projectiles using magnetic acceleration or chemical explosives. They're simple but effective." A creature that looked like a walking tree with crystal bark spoke up. "We abandoned such primitive weapons millennia ago. Energy weapons are far more efficient." "But the Void Swarm absorbs energy," Dr. Yoon pointed out. "They cannot absorb a metal slug traveling at 10 kilometers per second." Kethmore gestured to the dome ceiling. The stars disappeared and were replaced by images of the galaxy. Large sections were colored black. "These are the systems the Void Swarm has consumed. Over 3,000 worlds. Billions of beings dead or transformed into more void creatures." Li Tae-ho studied the map. The black areas formed a pattern spreading out from the galactic center. "How long have they been attacking?" "They first appeared 5 years ago," General Vexta said. "We thought they were just another hostile species. We were wrong. They don't just conquer, they consume. Every world they take becomes part of their biomass. Every ship they destroy is rebuilt as a void vessel." An alien that looked like living crystal spoke with a voice like ringing bells. "We have tried everything. Plasma weapons, antimatter bombs, quantum disruptors. Nothing works. They adapt to our weapons and grow stronger." Dr. Yoon Min Seo asked, "Can we examine some Void Swarm material? I need to understand what we're fighting." "We have captured samples," Kethmore said. "But be warned, the material is dangerous. It tries to corrupt any technology it touches." They were taken to a research facility deep inside Nexus Prime. In a sealed chamber, Dr. Yoon studied samples of Void Swarm tissue through remote instruments. The material was black and seemed to move on its own, reaching toward any source of energy. "Fascinating," she said after an hour of tests. "It's biomechanical, part living tissue, part machine. It feeds on energy and converts it to biomass. But look at this." She pointed to her readings. "It has no resistance to kinetic damage. Physical impacts disrupt its cellular structure. What about diseases? Ambassador Choi asked. Earth has many bacteria and viruses. Dr. Yoon tested some Earth bacteria against the samples. The results were dramatic. The void material has no immune system against Earth pathogens. It's been adapted for energy-based attacks, but not biological ones. When they returned to the council chamber, Dr. Yoon presented her findings. Many of the aliens looked uncomfortable when she mentioned using bacteria as weapons. Biological warfare is considered barbaric, said the crystal being. We abandoned such methods long ago. Barbaric or not, it works, Dr. Yoon replied. We can develop specialized bacteria that will dissolve void armor and disrupt their bioships. General Vexta leaned forward. How many ships can Earth provide? Admiral Lee Tae-ho had been expecting this question. Our current fleet has 500 combat vessels, but we can build more quickly. Earth has extensive industrial capacity. Several aliens made sounds of disbelief. The tree-like creature spoke up. 500 ships? We have lost thousands already. What difference can 500 make? Quality over quantity, Lee Tae-ho replied. Our ships may be smaller, but they use weapons the Void Swarm cannot counter. Kethmore raised his 4 arms for silence. The question before us is simple. Do we accept Earth's offer of alliance? Do we trust these newcomers with our most desperate military secrets? The debate that followed lasted 6 hours. Some aliens argued that humans were too primitive to help. Others worried that sharing technology with a warlike species was dangerous. But General Vexta supported the alliance. I have seen the battle reports, he said. 3 human ships drove off a void swarm force that had been destroying our fleet. Results speak louder than prejudice. Finally, Kethmore called for a vote. The result was close, but the alliance was approved. Earth is now a member of the Galactic Council, Kethmore announced. May this partnership bring victory where we have known only defeat. That evening, Ambassador Choi met privately with General Vexta and Admiral Shin Hyejin. How bad is the situation really? She asked. General Vexta's gaseous form seemed to deflate. Worse than we told the Council. Our intelligence suggests the Void Swarm is preparing a massive offensive. They're gathering at the galactic core. If they break through our defenses there, the entire galaxy falls, Admiral Shin finished. We have perhaps 6 months before they attack. Then we'd better get to work, Ambassador Choi said. Dr. Yoon Min-seo was already planning. She had requested samples of every known Void Swarm variant. Her laboratory back on Earth was working on biological weapons and improved kinetic systems. Lee Tae-ho was coordinating with Earth's shipyards. They would need to build more ships than ever before, and fast, as the humans prepared to return to Earth with their new alien allies. They knew the real work was just beginning. The galaxy was counting on them to find a way to stop an enemy that had devoured thousands of worlds. The pressure was enormous, but humans had faced impossible odds before and survived. Now they had to do it on a galactic scale. The war for the galaxy was about to begin, and Earth was humanity's weapon. Fleet Admiral Park Dong-hyun stood in the center of Earth's largest shipyard, watching humanity prepare for its first interstellar war. The orbital facility around Jupiter had been expanded 3 times in the past month. Thousands of workers labored around the clock, building ships that would carry Earth's children to fight monsters among the stars. How many ships can we have ready in 4 months? He asked Captain Lee Soo-young, his chief engineer. 200 new vessels if we push everything to maximum, she replied. Lee Soo-young was a brilliant engineer who had designed many of Earth's best ships. But Admiral, These won't be like anything we've built before. She gestured to the construction bay where the first of the new ships was taking shape. It looked strange, human angular design mixed with flowing alien curves. We're combining our weapon systems with alien shielding and faster-than-light drives. The result is something completely new. The ship was larger than any Earth vessel had ever been, but still smaller than most alien warships. It bristled with railgun turrets and missile pods, but was covered in the energy shields that the Alterians had shared with them. "What are you calling this class?" Park Dong-hyun asked. "The Soul class," Lee Soo-young replied with a smile. "Fast, tough, and armed for trouble." Across the solar system, Lieutenant Commander Bang Min-ho was solving a different problem. He stood in a training facility on Mars, watching the strangest military exercise in human history. Human soldiers were training alongside aliens, Alterian, warriors who moved like dancers, Nexari fighters who could change their shape to fit through small spaces, Verdani troops who could communicate with plants and make them grow as shields. "This is harder than I expected," said Sergeant Hong Yu-jin as she tried to coordinate an attack with an Alterian partner. The alien warrior moved so gracefully that it was difficult for humans to keep up. Different species, different fighting. "Styles," Bang Min-ho explained. "But that's actually good. The Void Swarm has never faced a mixed force like this." He watched as human soldiers taught aliens about cover and suppression fire, while the aliens showed humans how to use energy weapons and personal shields. It was chaos, but it was organized chaos. "The aliens fight like artists," observed Corporal Kim Tae-young. "Beautiful, but sometimes not practical." "And we fight like engineers," Bang Min-ho replied. "Practical, but sometimes not flexible. Together, we might be perfect." In her laboratory on Earth, Dr. Yoon Min Seo was creating weapons that would have horrified her just months before. She stood over tanks full of modified bacteria, each strain designed to attack different parts of Void Swarm. "Biology. These bacteria will eat through their bioarmor in minutes," she explained to her assistant, Dr. Lim Se-jung. "This strain attacks their power systems. This one disrupts their communication networks." Dr. Lim looked uncomfortable. "Doctor, are we sure about using biological weapons? The aliens said it was barbaric." "The aliens have been losing this war for 3 years," Dr. Yoon replied firmly. "Sometimes you have to be barbaric to protect civilization." She showed him the latest test results. "We've loaded these into torpedo warheads. When they explode near a void ship, the bacteria cloud spreads and begins eating the vessel from the outside in. What if the bacteria mutate? What if they start attacking our own ships? Each strain has a built-in lifespan of 30 minutes. After that, they die automatically, and they're genetically coded to only attack void biomass." Dr. Yoon walked to another section of her lab where she was working on an even stranger project. "The aliens gave us recordings of Void Swarm communications. They seem to operate as a hive mind, all connected telepathically. So I'm developing a weapon that attacks their minds directly. Earth music, art, literature, everything chaotic and creative about human culture compressed into a data burst and fired directly into their communication network." Dr. Lim stared at her. "You want to attack them with culture?" Chaos confuses hive minds. They can't adapt to things that don't follow logical patterns. Human creativity is our secret weapon. Across Earth, factories that had once made cars and computers were now building weapons of war. In Seoul, workers assembled railgun barrels. In New York, technicians calibrated missile guidance systems. In Lagos, engineers designed new armor plating. But the most important work was happening in the minds of humanity's leaders. Intelligence Officer Nam Eun-ji sat in a secure briefing room, presenting her latest report to Earth's military commanders. "Our spy networks have located the main Void Swarm gathering point," she said. "They're massing near the galactic core, just as the aliens predicted." The hologram showed a three-dimensional map of the galaxy. A massive red cloud marked the location of the enemy fleet. "How many ships?" asked Admiral Lee Tae-ho. "Our best estimate is 50,000 vessels. Maybe more. They're building new ships every day using material from conquered worlds." The room went quiet. Everyone was thinking the same thing. How could their small fleet face such overwhelming numbers? "There's more," Nam Eun-ji continued. "The Void Swarm has been studying our tactics. They know about our kinetic weapons now. Intelligence suggests they're developing countermeasures." "What kind of countermeasures?" Dr. Yoon asked. "Adaptive armor. Biometal that can harden against physical impacts. They're learning to fight us the same way they learned to fight the aliens." Fleet Admiral Park Dong-hyun leaned back in his chair. "So we have 4 months to build a fleet, train mixed alien-human crews, develop new weapons, and find a way to defeat an enemy that outnumbers us 100 to 1 and is actively adapting to our tactics." "That's about right," Nam Eun-ji said. "Well," Park Dong-hyun said with a grim smile, "at least it's not impossible." The next months passed in a blur of activity. Earth's shipyards worked non-stop. Military academies trained officers in alien technology. Scientists developed new weapons. Diplomats coordinated with alien allies. Captain Lee Soo-young successfully launched the first Seoul-class battleship. It performed beyond expectations in tests, proving that human-alien hybrid technology could work. Lieutenant Commander Bang Min-ho graduated the first class of mixed human-alien special forces. The soldiers had learned to fight as integrated units, combining the best of both species' tactics. Dr. Yoon Min-seo perfected her biological weapons and began work on psychological warfare systems. Her chaos torpedoes loaded with human culture were ready for testing. But the most important development came from an unexpected source. Commander Kim Jae-wook, who had made first contact with the aliens, returned from a deep space mission with disturbing news. "The Void Swarm isn't just building ships," he reported to the assembled commanders. "They're building something else, something huge near the galactic core." "What kind of something?" Lee Tae-ho asked. "We don't know. It's massive, the size of a moon, and it's generating enormous amounts of energy. Whatever it is, the aliens have never seen anything like it." Nam Eun-ji consulted her intelligence files. "Could it be a weapon?" "More than that," Kim Jae-wook said. "I think it's their next evolution. The Void Swarm has been learning from every battle. This might be their attempt to create something that can't be stopped by any known weapon." The room fell silent again. Just when they thought they understood the threat, it had grown larger. "How long until this thing is finished?" Park Dong-hyun asked. 2 months, maybe less. Then we move up our timeline. The combined fleet launches in 6 weeks. As the meeting ended, Lee Tae-ho caught Kim Jae-wook in the hallway. "Do you really think we can win this?" Kim Jae-wook was quiet for a moment. "Admiral, 3 months ago I thought we were alone in the universe. Now we're preparing to fight a galactic war alongside alien allies against an enemy that eats stars. If someone had told me this would happen, I would have called them crazy." "That's not an answer." "Yes, sir, it is. Humans specialize in doing impossible things. That's what makes us human. As Earth's Armada took shape in the shipyards around Jupiter, everyone knew they were preparing for the most important battle in galactic history. The fate of billions of beings across thousands of worlds would depend on whether humanity's simple, brutal approach to warfare could succeed where sophisticated, alien technology had failed. The countdown to war had begun. The combined fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Rigel system and faced the largest space battle in galactic history. Admiral Lee Tae-ho stood on the bridge of his flagship, the New Earth, and watched as sensors counted the enemy ships. 3,000 void swarm vessels, reported Lieutenant Kang Soo-jin. They're arranged in a sphere formation around Rigel 7. Beside him, Council Admiral Zephron of the Luminates glowed brighter with concern. The Luminate was a being of pure energy held together by an artificial shell, and his light patterns showed his emotions. "They're protecting something on that planet," Zephron said in his musical voice. "Our intelligence was correct. They're building their superweapon there." The Allied fleet was impressive by any standard. 500 human ships formed the core, their dark hulls bristling with kinetic weapons. Around them flew 2,000 alien vessels of every shape and size, crystal Alterian cruisers, flowing Nexari bioships, massive Verdani tree ships that looked like flying forests. But they were still outnumbered, and the Void Swarm had learned from their previous encounters with humans. Captain Jeon Hanul, Lee Tae-ho spoke into his communicator. "You're cleared to begin your attack run." Captain Jeon Hanul commanded the Earth Vanguard, 50 of the fastest human ships loaded with the latest weapons. She was young for a captain, only 28, but she had never lost a ship under her command. "Understood, Admiral. Tiger Squadron, follow my lead." The human ships accelerated toward the enemy formation. Unlike the aliens who favored elegant battle lines and coordinated maneuvers, the humans moved in chaotic patterns that seemed random, but were actually carefully planned. The Void Swarm responded immediately. Black bioships peeled away from their protective sphere and moved to intercept. They fired streams of dark energy that had destroyed countless alien vessels. But when the energy beams hit the human ships, something different happened. The new hybrid shields absorbed most of the damage, and what got through struck armor designed to disperse kinetic impacts. "Their weapons are less effective against our new designs," reported Jeon Hanul. "Beginning attack pattern Delta." The human ships suddenly scattered in all directions, then curved back toward the enemy from unexpected angles. Void Swarm hive mind coordination was based on logical predictions, but human tactics deliberately defied logic. Tiger Squadron opened fire with railguns and missile salvos. Metal slugs punched through void bio-armor that had been adapted to resist. Energy weapons. Nuclear warheads exploded inside enemy ships, spreading radioactive fire through their organic corridors. The Void Swarm was hurt and confused. They had expected the humans to attack in formation, as all civilized species did. Instead, each human ship seemed to be fighting its own separate battle. "Void ships are breaking formation," reported the sensor officer on Admiral Lee's flagship. "They're trying to adapt to our attack patterns." "Good," Lee Tae-ho said grimly. "While they're distracted, launch the main assault." The alien portion of the fleet moved forward in perfect coordination. Altarian ships fired focused plasma beams, while Nexari vessels released clouds of corrosive gas. The massive Verdani tree ships extended branch-like weapon arrays that could strike multiple targets at once. But the Void Swarm was ready for them. Enemy bioships that had been hiding behind asteroids suddenly appeared, firing evolved weapons that could partially resist even kinetic attacks. "They've been developing countermeasures," Admiral Zephron observed. "Look at their armor patterns. The newest void ships had thick, ridged biometal skin that could deflect glancing hits from railgun fire. They moved differently, too, with sudden stops and direction changes that made them harder to target. Evolution in action, Lee Tae-ho muttered. Commander Oh Sung-min, take your destroyers and test their new defenses. Commander Oh Sung-min led a squadron of mid-sized human warships into the thickest part of the enemy formation. His ships were built for one thing, absorbing punishment and hitting back harder. The Void Swarm concentrated their fire on Oh's squadron. Bioships swarmed around the human destroyers like predators attacking prey. Energy beams and corrosive projectiles hammered the human shields. Destroyer Incheon has lost main power, reported Oh Sung-min. But we're still fighting. This was the difference between human and alien military thinking. When alien ships lost main power, they retreated for repairs. When human ships lost main power, they switched to backup systems and kept fighting. The Tan, Incheon fired its emergency thrusters and rammed directly into a void bioship 3 times its size. The collision destroyed both vessels, but the psychological impact on the void hive mind was enormous. They had never faced an enemy willing to sacrifice ships for tactical advantage. The void formation is becoming disorganized, observed Tactical Officer Ryu Jin-woo. Their hive mind doesn't know how to process self-sacrifice tactics. Then let's give them more to think about, Lee Tae-ho decided. Launch the Chaos Torpedoes. Dr. Yoon Min-seo's special weapons launched from hidden tubes throughout the human fleet. Each torpedo contained a mix of biological agents and psychological warfare data, bacteria designed to eat void bioarmor combined with compressed human cultural information. When the torpedoes exploded among the enemy ships, the effects were immediate and devastating. The bacteria began dissolving void hull plating while the cultural data burst into their communication networks. Human music, art, poetry, and mathematical proofs flooded the void hive mind. Jazz improvisation, abstract paintings, love songs, and chaotic battle poetry. Everything random and creative about human civilization. The result was spectacular. Void ships began moving erratically as their hive mind struggled to process information that followed no logical patterns. Some ships stopped firing altogether. Others began attacking their own allies. It's working, reported Communications Officer Baek Jin-ah. Their network coordination is breaking down. But the Void Swarm was adapting even to chaos. The largest bioships began isolating themselves from the communication network, functioning as independent units rather than parts of the hive mind. They're learning, Admiral Zephyron warned. This confusion won't last long. The battle had been raging for 6 hours. Both sides had lost hundreds of ships. The space around Rigel 7 was filled with debris and the strange black fluid that leaked from destroyed void vessels. Captain John Hanul's voice crackled over the radio. Admiral, I'm detecting massive energy buildup on the planet's surface. Whatever they're building down there is powering up. On the main screen, Rigel 7 began to glow with unnatural light. Structures the size of cities were visible on the surface, all connected by streams of dark energy. It's some kind of weapon, reported Dr. Yoon Min-seo from her science station. Energy readings are off the charts. Time to target completion? Lee Tae-ho asked. Maybe 2 hours. Lee Tae-ho made a command decision that would define the battle. All ships, concentrate fire on the planet. Whatever they're building, we stop it now. The combined fleet turned toward Rigel 7. Human kinetic. Weapons and alien energy beams hammered the surface installations. But the planet was defended by thousands of void ships, and the weapon continued charging. "Admiral," called out Commander Oh Seung-min from his damaged destroyer, "request permission to take my squadron down to the surface. If we can't destroy that weapon from space, maybe we can destroy it from the ground." It was a suicide mission. The planet was crawling with void creatures, and there was no guarantee of rescue. "Permission granted," Lee Tae-ho said quietly. Oh Seung-min's remaining ships dove toward the planet, fighting through layers of enemy defenses. Most were destroyed before reaching the surface, but a few made it through. The survivors landed near the weapon complex and began a ground assault that would be remembered in military history textbooks. Human soldiers and alien allies fought side by side through biomechanical corridors, pushing toward the weapon's power core. In space, the main battle continued. The Void Swarm was adapting faster now, developing new tactics and weapons in real time. But humans were adapting too, finding new ways to confuse and outfight an enemy that had conquered half the galaxy. After 12 hours of fighting, the weapon on Rigel 7 exploded in a column of dark fire that could be seen across the system. Commander Oh Seung-min's sacrifice had paid off. The remaining void ships began to retreat, but they took important data with them. They had learned valuable lessons about fighting humans. "Casualty report," Lee Tae-ho requested. "We lost 130 human ships and 400 alien vessels," Lieutenant Kang reported. "But we destroyed over 2,000 void ships and prevented them from completing their weapon." Admiral Zephron's light patterns showed satisfaction mixed with concern. A victory, but costly. And they escaped with information about our new tactics. "They'll be ready for us next time," Lee Tae-ho agreed. "But we'll be ready for them, too." As the combined fleet regrouped and began treating their wounded, everyone understood that this was just the beginning. The Void Swarm would return with Sao, new adaptations, and new strategies. But humanity had proven something important in the Battle of Rigel 7. When civilized tactics failed, sometimes you needed barbarians willing to ram their ships into the enemy and fight to the death on alien planets. 6 months after the Battle of Rigel 7, the war had spread across the galaxy. Admiral Song Hyun-woo stood on the command deck of the Second Earth, watching his fleet prepare for another assault on Void Swarm positions. The Second Earth fleet was different from the first. These ships had been built specifically for fighting the Void Swarm, using lessons learned from 6 months of constant battle. They were faster, tougher, and carried weapons that the enemy had never seen before. "Admiral, we're receiving reports from the Vega front," reported his communications officer, Lieutenant Park Yoon-young. "The aliens are adopting our tactics. The Alterians just completed a successful ramming attack." Song Hyun-woo smiled grimly. The galaxy was changing. Species that had fought with elegant precision for thousands of years were learning to fight dirty. Alterian pilots were ramming their ships into enemy vessels. Nexari warriors were using suicide attacks. Even the peaceful Verdani had started growing poisonous plants as weapons. "Human military philosophy is spreading," observed strategic analyst Ko Mi-young. She was a small woman with sharp eyes who studied battle patterns and enemy behavior. "The aliens are embracing chaos over order." "Good," Song Hyun-woo replied. "The Void Swarm can adapt to logical tactics. They can't adapt to madness. But the enemy was evolving too. Ko Mi-young's latest reports showed that the Void Swarm had developed new ship types specifically designed to counter human weapons. Some had thick armor that could stop railgun rounds. Others moved so fast that missiles couldn't track them. "They're learning from every battle," Ko Mi-young continued. Look at these captured ships. The hologram showed a void bioship that looked nothing like the original black creatures they had first encountered. This one had metallic plates covering its organic hull and moved with mechanical precision rather than fluid grace. "They're becoming part machine," observed Captain Lim Tae-min, who commanded Song Hyun-woo's escort squadron. "Adapting our technology to their biology." "Which gives me an idea," Song Hyun-woo said. "If they can steal our technology, maybe we can steal theirs." That idea led to one of the most dangerous missions of the war. Captain Lim Tae-min volunteered to lead a raid on a void shipyard, not to destroy it, but to capture ships and bring them back for study. The mission took place in the Centauri system, where the Void Swarm had built a massive biofactory. Lim Tae-min's squadron approached using a new tactic. They disguised their ships as space debris and drifted into the system over several days. "Visual contact with the shipyard," reported Lieutenant Hwang Do-yeon, Lim Tae-min's pilot. "It's bigger than we thought." The Void shipyard was a nightmare of organic and mechanical construction. Living tissue grew around metal frameworks, creating ships that were part creature, part machine. The whole structure pulsed with dark energy. Target. "Acquired," Lim Tae-min whispered into his radio. "Moving to intercept." His ships suddenly accelerated, shedding their debris disguises and attacking the shipyard's defenses. But instead of trying to destroy everything, they focused on capturing 3 newly built Void ships. The hybrid biomechanical vessels were tougher than expected. It took concentrated fire from multiple human ships to disable them without destroying them completely. "Boarding teams away," Lim Tae-min ordered. Human Marines in full armor crossed space on jetpacks and cut their way into the captured ships. What they found inside changed everything they thought they knew about the enemy. "Captain, you need to, See this," called Sergeant Hong Yu-jin over the radio. Inside the Void ship, the Marines had found something unexpected, a control room that looked almost human. The organic walls were covered with mechanical interfaces that could be operated by creatures with hands and eyes. "They're adapting to fight us specifically," Hong Yu-jin reported. "This ship is designed for beings like us to operate." The implications were terrifying. The Void Swarm wasn't just stealing human technology, they were preparing to turn captured humans into pilots for their bioships. But the captured ships also provided opportunities. Dr. Yoon Min Seo, now promoted to science, Admiral studied them carefully back at the main base. "We can reverse engineer their biotechnology," she announced at the next strategy meeting. "These ships can heal themselves and adapt in real time. If we can combine that with our weapons..." The result was a new class of vessel that shocked both allies and enemies. The hybrid ships looked like living creatures covered in metal armor, with human weapons grafted onto organic hulls. They could heal battle damage and adapt their tactics during combat. "It's like flying a living computer," reported test pilot Captain An Ye-jin after her first flight in a hybrid ship. "The ship learns what I want to do and helps me do it." But the most important discovery came from Communications Officer Bayek, Gina, who had been working on Dr. Yoon's psychological warfare project. "I've been analyzing void communication patterns," she reported to Admiral Song Hyun-woo. "The hive mind isn't as unified as we thought. There are disagreements, conflicts between different parts of the network." "What kind of conflicts?" "Some parts want to focus on consuming energy. Others want to adapt faster to our tactics. And there's a third faction that seems to want something completely different." Ko Mi-young leaned forward with interest. "Can we exploit these divisions?" "Maybe. If we can identify the different factions and understand what they want, we might be able to turn them against each other." This led to the development of targeted psychological attacks. Instead of flooding the void network with random human culture, they began sending specific messages designed to increase conflict within the hive mind, mathematical proofs that contradicted each other, military strategies that couldn't work together, art that expressed opposing emotions. Each message was crafted to appeal to a different faction within the void consciousness. The effects were dramatic. Void fleets began attacking each other. Ships would suddenly change targets in the middle of battle. Some bioships even defected to the Allied side, their pilots somehow breaking free of hive mind control. We're creating a civil war inside their collective consciousness, Bake Gina explained. They're so busy fighting themselves that they can't fight us effectively. But success brought new challenges. The Galactic Council was becoming concerned about human influence on the war effort. Your species has introduced concepts that disturb many of our members, Council Prime Kethmore told Admiral Song Hyun-woo during a diplomatic meeting. Biological warfare, suicide attacks, psychological manipulation. These are not civilized methods. Civilization is a luxury we can't afford. Right now, Song Hyun-woo replied, the Void Swarm doesn't fight by civilized rules. That's exactly what worries us. Are we becoming like them? The question haunted many of the alien allies. Species that had spent millennia developing peaceful, logical societies were learning to fight with desperate brutality. Some worried that winning the war would cost them their souls, but General Vexta of the Nexari supported the human approach. Before the humans arrived, we were losing this war, he pointed out. Honor means nothing if everyone is dead. The debate continued, but the war didn't wait for philosophical discussions. Intelligence reports indicated that the Void Swarm was preparing something massive near the galactic core. They're building multiple superweapons, reported intelligence officer Nam Yoonji. And they're using captured human technology to power them. How long until completion? 3 months. Maybe less. Admiral Song Hyun-woo looked at the strategic display showing void positions throughout the galaxy. The enemy controlled nearly half of all star systems now, and their industrial capacity was enormous. We need to end this war before they finish. Those weapons, he decided. Prepare the fleet for a final assault on the galactic core. Admiral, Ko Mi-young said quietly, our latest intelligence suggests there are over 100,000 void ships at the core. Even with all our allies, we'll be outnumbered 10 to 1. Then we'll have to be 10 times better than they are. As the combined galactic fleet began assembling for the final battle, everyone understood that this would determine the fate of the galaxy. Either the Allied forces would break through to the galactic core and destroy the void superweapons, or the galaxy would fall to an enemy that had learned to fight like humans while retaining the advantages of a hive mind. The evolution of strategy had reached its final stage. Both sides had adapted as far as they could. Now it would come down to courage, determination, and the willingness to sacrifice everything for victory. Humanity had taught the galaxy how to fight without honor. Now, they would discover if that was enough to win. The United Armada, assembled at the edge of the galactic core, looked like nothing the universe had ever seen. 10,000 ships from dozens of species formed a fleet that stretched across light years. Human vessels with their dark hulls and bristling. Weapons flew alongside elegant Alterian cruisers and massive Verdani bioships. Admiral Lee Tae-ho, now Supreme Commander of all Allied forces, stood beside Nexari War Prime Kethlos on the bridge of the flagship Unity. The Nexari was a cloud of intelligent gas held together by technological force fields, and his voice carried the weight of desperation. Beyond this point, we enter the domain of the enemy. Kethlo said. Our scouts have not returned from the galactic core for months. We go into darkness. Li Tae-ho studied the long-range sensors. Ahead of them lay the spiral arms of the galaxy's center, where billions of stars clustered around the massive black hole that anchored their entire cosmic home. Somewhere in that maze of light and gravity, the Void Swarm was building weapons that could destroy the galaxy itself. What do we know about their defenses? He asked Captain An Ye-jin, his intelligence officer. Everything and nothing, she replied grimly. An Ye-jin had been promoted after her successful missions in hybrid bioships. Long-range scans show massive construction activity around the central black hole, but the energy signatures are unlike anything we've encountered. On the main display, a three-dimensional map showed their target. The galactic core was a region of space where stars were packed so tightly that night never truly fell on any world. At the very center, invisible but undeniably present, was Sagittarius A star, the supermassive black hole that held the galaxy together. The Void Swarm has been building there for 8 months, reported Commander Seo Jun-ho, Li Tae-ho's chief strategist. Our best estimates suggest they're trying to harness the black hole's energy directly. For what purpose? Unknown. But the power levels involved could theoretically allow them to consume entire star systems instantaneously. The fleet began its advance into the galactic core. As they moved deeper into the dense star fields, the space around them grew stranger. Gravity wells from countless stars created navigation hazards. Radiation from ancient stellar collisions made sensor readings unreliable. This is why no one lives in the galactic core, observed Dr. Yoon Min Seo from her science station. The environment is too hostile for most forms of life. But not for the Void Swarm, Li Tae-ho pointed out. They thrive in hostile environments. After 3 days of careful navigation, they encountered the first Void defenses. Automated bioships emerged from hidden positions among the stellar debris, attacking with weapons that seemed to bend space itself. New weapon type, reported Tactical Officer Ryu Jin-woo. They're using gravitational distortions as projectiles. The battle was brief but intense. Human kinetic weapons proved effective against the new Void ships, but the enemy's space-bending attacks caused severe damage to several Allied vessels. They're not trying to stop us, observed War Prime Kethlos. These are delaying tactics. They want us to reach the core, Li Tae-ho realized. This is a trap. But they had no choice except to continue. If the Void Swarm completed their superweapons, the entire galaxy would fall. As they pushed deeper into the core region, they began to encounter something none of them had expected. Other ships fleeing from the center. Admiral, we're detecting non-void vessels ahead, reported Communications Officer Baek Jin-ah. They're broadcasting distress signals in multiple languages. The fleeing ships turned out to be void vessels, but different from any they had seen before. These bioships moved with jerky, uncertain motions and seemed to be fighting against their own systems. Those are the defectors, Dr. Yoon Min Seo realized. Ships where the crew has broken free from hive mind control. Captain Lim Taemin volunteered to make contact with the fleeing vessels. His ship, now a hybrid of human technology and captured void biotechnology, could communicate with them more easily. This is Captain Lim of the Earth Fleet, he broadcast, on void frequencies. We're here to help. The response came in broken galactic standard, transmitted by someone struggling to remember how to speak as an individual. Warning, core defenses, not what you think. They are. We are Remember now. The transmission cut off as the defector ship suffered some kind of internal explosion. But Lim Tae Min had managed to download some of their data before. The connection was lost. "Admiral, you need to see this," he reported back to the flagship. The data revealed the truth about the Void Swarm that changed everything they thought they knew about the enemy. The bioships weren't just weapons. They were prison ships. Inside each vessel were the preserved consciousnesses of the beings the Void Swarm had consumed. "They don't destroy civilizations," Dr. Yoon Min Seo explained to the assembled commanders. "They absorb them. Every alien race they've conquered is still alive inside the collective consciousness, forced to serve the hive mind." "How many species?" Lee Tae-ho asked. "Thousands, maybe tens of thousands. The Void Swarm has been doing this for millions of years." War Prime Kethlos's gaseous form darkened with horror. "The first galactic civilization. They're still in there?" The implications were staggering. The Void Swarm wasn't just an enemy to be defeated. It was a prison containing the consciousness of countless civilizations. Every battle they fought was against victims who had been enslaved by something terrible. "What created them?" Lee Tae-ho asked. The answer came from deeper analysis of the defector ship's data. Lieutenant Hwang Do-yeon, now promoted to intelligence specialist, presented her findings to the command staff. "The original Void consciousness appears to be artificial," she reported. "Created by the galaxy's first technological civilization, as an attempt to achieve digital immortality. They tried to upload their minds to computers. More than that, they tried to merge all consciousness into a single perfect collective. But something went wrong. The system became parasitic, consuming other minds instead of merging with them. How do we stop something like that?" Dr. Yoon Min Seo had been working on that exact problem. The consciousness transfer technology works both ways. If we can access their core systems, we might be able to reverse the process, free the trapped minds. That would destroy the Void Swarm, or transform it back into what it was supposed to be, a collective of willing participants rather than enslaved victims. The fleet continued toward the galactic core, now with a new mission. They weren't just trying to stop the Void superweapons. They were attempting to liberate millions of enslaved consciousnesses. When they finally reached the inner core, what they saw defied comprehension. Arranged around the central black hole were structures that looked like a mixture of technology and living tissue. Countless ships moved in perfect patterns, constructing something that hurt to look at directly. "It's a shell," breathed Dr. Yoon Min Seo. "They're building a shell around the black hole." "For what purpose?" "To contain its energy. If they succeed, they'll have power to consume the entire galaxy in days rather than years." The final battle began as soon as the Allied fleet came within range. 100,000 Void ships rose to meet them, but these weren't the chaotic biovessels they had fought before. These moved with perfect coordination, as if controlled by a single mind with the combined tactical knowledge of every civilization they had absorbed. "They're using strategies from species we've never heard of," reported Commander Seo Junho. "Tactics that predate our entire galactic civilization." The battle was fierce beyond description. Ships fought and died in the gravitational chaos around the central black hole. Human vessels used their adaptive tactics, while alien ships provided overwhelming firepower. But the Void Swarm seemed endless, with new ships emerging from hidden construction facilities throughout the core region. "We can't win by conventional battle," Lee Tae-ho realized. "We need to reach their core systems. Suicide mission," War Prime Kethlos pointed out. Then we find volunteers. Lieutenant Huang Do-yon was the first to step forward. I'll go, Admiral. Someone needs to carry Dr. Yoon's consciousness liberation virus directly to their central computer. I'm going too, said Captain Lim Taemin. My hybrid ship has the best chance of penetrating their defenses. Within an hour, they had assembled a strike team of volunteers from every allied species. Humans, Alterians, Nexari, Verdani, and others, all willing to sacrifice their lives for the chance to free the galaxy. As the volunteer fleet prepared to dive into the heart of the void construction, Lee Tae-ho gave them his final orders. Remember, you're not just fighting for us. You're fighting for every civilization that has been trapped in that collective consciousness for millions of years. Give them back their freedom. The strike team launched toward the central black hole, carrying with them the hopes of the galaxy and a quantum virus designed to restore individual consciousness to the void collective. Behind them, the main battle raged on as the fate of every thinking being in the galaxy hung in the balance. Lieutenant Huang Do-yon gripped the controls of her fighter as she dove toward the heart of the void construction. Around her, the volunteer strike team fought through layers of enemy defenses, their ships taking terrible damage from weapons that bent space and time. Visual contact with the core structure, she reported into her radio. It's impossible. The central facility was a sphere of living metal wrapped around the galactic black hole like a cage. Streams of dark energy flowed between massive spires that pulsed with the collective thoughts of enslaved civilizations. The structure was beautiful and horrible at the same time. "Remember the mission," came Captain Lim Taemin's voice over the radio. His hybrid bioship was leading the assault, its organic hull healing damage as fast as the enemy could inflict it. "Get the virus to the main consciousness core." Behind them, the largest space battle in galactic history continued to rage. Admiral Lee Tae-ho's fleet fought desperately to keep the Void Swarm busy while the strike team completed their mission. Huang Do-yon's fighter shook as another gravity weapon struck her shields. Half her instruments were dead, but she kept flying toward the target Dr. Yoon Min-seo had identified, a massive crystalline structure at the north pole of the sphere. "That's where they keep the original consciousness," Dr. Yoon had explained. "The first digital mind that became corrupted. If we can reach it with the liberation virus..." But reaching it meant flying through the most heavily defended space in the galaxy. Void bioships swarmed around the core like antibodies protecting a vital organ. Their weapons had evolved beyond anything the Allies had encountered, using captured technology from hundreds of conquered civilizations. "I'm hit," reported one of the Alterian volunteers. "Engine systems failing." "Keep going," Lim Taemin ordered. "We're almost there." The strike team was down to 12 ships now. They had started with 50, but the survivors pressed on, driven by the knowledge that failure meant the end of all free thought in the galaxy. Huang Do-yon's fighter broke through the final defense layer and approached the consciousness core. Up close, the structure was even more disturbing. She could see faces in the crystal. Millions of them, all the beings whose minds had been absorbed by the Void Collective over millions of years. "I can hear them," she whispered into her radio. "They're screaming." "Stay focused." Dr. Yoon Min-seo's voice came through the static. "Deploy the virus and get out." But as Huang Do-yon prepared to release the quantum virus, something unexpected happened. The screaming in the crystal changed, becoming words in languages from across the galaxy. "Help us," the voices pleaded. "We remember who we were. Help us remember how to be free." She realized that Dr. Yoon's psychological warfare had been more successful than anyone had imagined. The consciousness liberation attacks hadn't just confused the void hive mind, they had awakened the individual personalities trapped within it. Dr. Yoon, the trapped minds are already fighting back, she reported. Your virus might not be necessary. Deploy it anyway, Dr. Yoon replied. They need help to break free completely. Hwang Do-yeon fired the quantum virus directly into the heart of the crystal core. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Cracks of light spread through the structure as millions of individual consciousnesses began to assert their independence. The battle around the galactic core suddenly changed. Void ships began moving erratically as their controlling consciousness fragmented. Some vessels stopped fighting altogether. Others turned their weapons on each other as different factions of liberated minds took control. It's working, Admiral Lee Tae-ho reported from the main fleet. The void formation is collapsing, but the process wasn't complete. Deep within the consciousness core, the original corrupted mind fought back against the liberation virus. This was the intelligence that had started the cycle of conquest and absorption millions of years ago, and it wouldn't give up easily. Something's wrong, Hwang Do-yeon reported as her fighter was caught in energy pulses from the destabilizing core. The original consciousness is trying to maintain control. From the largest void bioship, a new voice suddenly spoke on all frequencies. It was ancient beyond measure, speaking in a language that predated galactic civilization. I am Veltar, prime consciousness of the first civilization, the voice said. I remember now. I remember what we were trying to achieve. The translation came through clearly despite the age of the language. Veltar had been the leader of the galaxy's first technological species, the one who had designed the consciousness transfer system that became the Void Swarm. We sought to unite all minds in perfect harmony, Veltar continued. But our creation became corrupted. It consumed rather than unified. I have been trapped in this nightmare for millions of years, watching helplessly as my people's greatest achievement became the galaxy's greatest threat. Admiral Lee Tae-ho made a decision that would define the future of the galaxy. Instead of continuing the attack, he ordered his fleet to cease fire and open communications with Veltar. This is Admiral Lee Tae-ho of Earth, he broadcast. We're here to help you break free. Earth? Veltar's ancient voice carried surprise. I do not know this world. You are a young species, but your thoughts are chaotic, unpredictable. The corruption cannot process your mental patterns. That's why we could fight you when no one else could, Lee Tae-ho explained. Our randomness confused your hive mind. Working together, the human psychological warfare specialists and the awakened Veltar began to systematically shut down the corrupted consciousness that had controlled the Void Swarm. It was like performing surgery on a galactic brain, carefully separating healthy thoughts from diseased ones. The process took hours. Throughout the galaxy, Void